Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
The Happy Healthy Guys.
Yes, we are. We've got a great episode for you today. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right to lose weight, but it seems like the harder that you work, the harder it becomes, or maybe it seems like nothing is working and nobody is giving you a real answer? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what it is that's really going on, what could be going on, and why taking full responsibility and ownership for your own health will save your life. Plus, we're going to also be talking about what it is that we did this last weekend. Had an amazing weekend. It was one of those weekends where it was completely unexpected. It wasn't on the calendar until about a week ago. And Dr. Randy, what did we do this last weekend?
Well, what didn't we do would be
oh my gosh,
a better question. I feel like we were
on fast forward.
We were everywhere. It's good. No, it's good. I think as we've been out there more and really digging in and just standing our ground on what real health is all about and being more committed than ever before to share this message, I really believe God is opening up more opportunities and more doors to be that voice and to get out there and really help people, figure out what the heck really is health. How do I be healthy? What does that even mean anymore? And it's so confusing out there. So we were invited to be a part of this incredible event here in Dallas, Texas, which was awesome.
Which almost never happens.
Yeah, definitely not. I guess it was that in Frisco, maybe just north of us here in Grapevine. And we're invited to be at this incredible event. They were honoring and giving out awards to some of our mentors, actually. One of our mentors had invited us out to be at his table at a black tie event, Dr. CJ Mertz. He was my coach when I was in chiropractic school as a student. And then coming out of school, he was one of those guys that I learned from. And I learned from him because I was learning from you.
He was actually our coach.
Yeah, well, I was learning from you at the time because you already had paved the way for me. You'd been in practice, 4 or 5 years. I was going over to your clinic back when I was a young chiropractic student learning from you.
Pup.
I was a young pup, but I was hungry. I wanted to learn. And you were obviously great to help show me the way. But yeah, that was your coach. So I got involved. But it was really cool kind of reconnecting with CJ over the last several years, even 20, 25 years later to see like, man, that's a guy who played a huge role in our life, and bringing us out to that event was pretty awesome being there at his table.
It was awesome. And it reminds me of even our group with Happy Healthy and even the folks that are on right now on our office hours, listening to the podcast right now, in the group and the community that we have, the community that we get to be able to hang out with, that we got to go to Mexico with this last year, the community that we got to be able to go to Italy with. But as I think about that, Dr. Randy, why do you think it's so important to be in a room full of people who challenge your thinking and are also the people that encourage your dreams and remind you of what's really possible?
Yeah, I think, especially being in business, if you're an entrepreneur or just being in a place of growth where you want to grow, if you're the biggest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, true story.
We've always wanted
an echo chamber.
Exactly. And the truth, according to me, is exactly that. Sometimes I need to hear from other people. We all do. But yeah, we like to be in rooms where people are doing things that we want to do, from people that we respect, from people that we trust, from people that do things the right way. You can do things the right way and have a great impact and be very successful. So those type rooms not only help you grow, help you think bigger for yourself, because a lot of times we settle or don't think that we can. Those are lies. And so rooms like that really inspire me. It makes you realize how important it is to have key leaders in your life, accountability, people that you look up to, people that you try to model after. And we already know how powerful it is to have a community of like-minded people. I know you bring it up a lot because it's so true about the blue zones.
Yeah, the blue zones, if you don't know what the blue zones are, that's where they have the most amount and numbers of centurions. And it's interesting when you study or you look at the blue zones the way we look at it, and there's a common thread between all of them. And I'm also always really fascinated by other cultures. It's really one of my dreams and our dreams is to have a TV series like a Netflix type of a documentary series.
I like it. Throw it out there. Let's
Yeah,
get it out there.
where you travel to different countries and you experience different cultures and you see what is it that these people are doing to take ownership of their health. Because the way people do and take ownership of their health in the Philippines is completely different than what it would be in the United States. However, there's healthy people there, there's healthy people here. So the blue zones would be like places like Okinawa, for example. Then you've got blue zones in Spain. And what's the common link between all of these things? And the common link is community. It's connection with like-minded people who are there to agree with you, to encourage you, to lift you up, to inspire you, to pray for you, to be with you, to be able to make sure that you're supporting each other and heading in a direction that ultimately is a purposeful direction. And so that's why being in a room like this, we've got a room full of all of these people whose purpose really is to make an impact on humanity and to be able to get humanity asking better questions. How do we live a longer, happier, healthier life? What's the truth in order to be able to make that happen? And
Well,
so,
on that note, real
yeah.
quick, the more truth you seek and the more willing you become to draw a line in the sand and disrupt and no longer go with the flow or go with what's popular, you can start to feel isolated and you can start to feel alone. You can almost feel like, am I the only person who even feels and thinks this way? Your mind will start to make you feel that way. And the truth is, you're not. But it goes back to what you said. This is why you want to seek out and connect with like-minded people who not only accept you, right, but they believe in you. And people that accept you are great, but I want to be in a community of people who believe in me because I know people that believe in me will hold me accountable and they'll never let me settle for anything less than God's best. That is the room you want to find because that's what the studies show. Like-minded people in a community who hold each other accountable and support each other. That is how you continue to grow. That is how you continue to learn. That's how you are able to keep busting through plateaus in your life where it felt impossible, but you knew because you saw somebody else do it, you now knew it was possible. It's the whole Roger Bannister, the guy who broke the 4-minute mile. Once you saw it could be done, now high school kids break the 4-minute mile. Sometimes you need a story more than you need food, I think is the quote.
Yeah, so many great things. I feel like this podcast may end up being 5 hours long.
Could be.
And it could
We won't do it
absolutely
to
be
you.
with all the things that we got from this
Yeah.
last week. And so I'll try to keep things going in a direction where it's not going to be 5 hours long, but we could do multiple parts of it. So I was thinking, so yeah, we were talking about even with the room and how when you are in that place where you are vibrating at a level where you are following your mission, it's like a lot of times you don't necessarily need to seek somebody out. They just end up showing up. An example, and we'll talk about an example of this in just a minute. Maybe we do that now, because one of my biggest takeaways of the weekend was one of the connections that we made. There was someone who somebody else was trying to connect us. This is actually really cool. It's like God puts those people right there when they need to be there. We were talking to one of our friends, Christian, who is the founder of the company STEM Regen, at another conference a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, you guys need to collaborate, and you need to meet the folks at Deliverance."
Yeah.
That's all we knew was Deliverance, right? And so
Great
the only
name.
the only thing I know about Deliverance is the movie. That's a whole completely different story. But this is D-liver-ends. And so on the first the first day there was a black tie gala and we're leaving, and that was just incredible in and of its own. one of the things that we noticed is that everybody who was speaking and receiving an award, with the exception of maybe one, which was also a friend of ours, Dan Pompa, had done our metabolism program.
That's true. That was
Right?
pretty powerful. Like
Yeah,
all
I'm
these
like,
key leaders
that person, Dell was up there speaking, Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So we're leaving. It's been a long evening. We're getting ready to leave, and we see a friend of ours that used to do segments on a show that we used to do here in Texas called Good Morning Texas. It's another doctor. We saw him, and we're like, hey, let's go say hi. We haven't seen him in a long time. So we go up and we say hi to him, and he's like, oh, let me introduce you to the people who are right next to me. This is Siggy and his wife, Cassandra. And we get to talking to Siggy and his wife, Cassandra, and Siggy's like, hey, have you tried this product here? And he pulls this product out of his bag, and it's a product, and on the bottle, it says Deliverance.
Yeah.
And Randy's like, oh my gosh, you guys are the people that Christian was trying to introduce us to, that we needed to collaborate together. Long story short, we spent a lot of time with them. Spent a lot of time with them the next evening at another event that we didn't have planned. Next thing you know, you're in the backyard of a professional baseball player listening to Del Bigtree interviewing Dr. Phil, which is a whole
That got real.
whole other thing. And one of the things that Dr. Phil was talking about, which is exactly what we're talking about right now, is taking agency of your health.
Yeah.
That's taking ownership of your health. So let me go back to the point here. The point was, why in the world would we want to collaborate or work with somebody who's got a liver detox program? Why is it that the liver is so important in people having strong metabolic health? Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. And as always, if you don't know what's going on with your metabolism and you want to find out, go to metabolismscore.com.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. And, we don't make a lot of products, but the products we do make are all metabolically focused. So go check these out. Go to thehappyhealthylife.com. And when you get to checkout, use code podcast to save 10% off any and all of our metabolic friendly products. Yeah, well, it's vital because obviously the liver plays multiple biological and physiological roles and plays a key role in your metabolism. Even, one of the disruptor patterns that we identified early on in our career was a real liver disrupted metabolic dysfunction. And you'll see it play out in a lot of people. It seems like it's more common in men, and you'll see it like men will have these really huge bellies, lots of visceral fat that's packing around their liver, maybe their pancreas. And you'll see that. In fact, a lot of these guys even have skinny legs and skinny arms. They almost built like a wisdom tooth, if that makes any sense.
That makes me giggle.
Truncated fat, the liver distended, but it's a very dangerous pattern. In fact, a lot of people who even have go to your doctor, and of course they silo out all the organs and then diagnose you and then give you drugs to treat that organ. But a lot of even thyroid issues really are liver congestion because, the thyroid conversion hormone, that T4 to T3, most of that does happen in your liver. But it was really cool connecting with these guys because they've got a product that supports that. But at the same time, I was like, man, I like the fact that these guys understand that, real health isn't about really treating anything. It's about creating a powerful environment. So one of the reasons I believe there's a great connection with the guys over at Deliverance is they know that their product is great, but a product is a product. You need to have a system, and I think that was the attraction. They love creating affiliates to bring value to what they do. So our metabolism programs that we've now really, how many at this point? Heck, probably over 10,000 people. We've had the privilege. I don't know, is that high? I think it probably is at this point. We went back and looked at it. We've worked with thousands and thousands of people and helped them overcome real metabolic dysfunction, including liver dysfunction. And I think that was the attraction. They're like, man, we don't have anything like what you guys are doing to help our clients not only help support and detox their liver, but really help clear the metabolic pathways. In fact, they even do like liver testing, like ultrasound type testing to look at how much scarring you have in your liver, how much fatty accumulation you have in your liver. Now, we've seen people do bioimpedance assessments who've gone on our program, and we've seen 2, 3, and 4, 5-point drops, like complete reversal of liver and visceral fat. But this was a targeted test. So obviously, one of the owners of the company goes, "You guys need to get the test." So it was like a $300 test. 500. We went and did the test. I wanted to know because heck, my liver, for those of you who know my story, which a lot of you do, my liver was full of cancer 15 years ago. And if you remember correctly, remember when we were getting ready to speak, we were getting ready to go on stage. I hadn't told you I had cancer yet. And I pull up my shirt.
It was like sticking out. It was almost like poking out of your shirt. So it was distended, swollen. Yeah, it was nasty.
It felt like it came out of nowhere because when I put my shirt on, I could see it sticking out of my shirt. And I pull it up. I'm like, Rob, you see this? So my liver was full of cancer. And so anyway, obviously, long story short, it was really cool. We ran the test, both of us, and our liver scores were the best they've seen. In fact, the doctor doing the consults after the test was like, well, I guess keep doing what you're doing because it works. There was no scarring, no fatty accumulation. And as you're talking to other people and their scores, it's like, it always feels good that when we show up to an event that we're a living, breathing, walking example. We are the booth at an event because we're walking, living, and breathing it. So it's pretty powerful. Yeah. But back to your question, that's why we created a disruption pattern centered and focused around helping support and clear the liver to help heal and repair your metabolic profile.
Yeah, we get that quite a bit. You know, we were in fact we were at the STEM Regen booth. And Christian's like, "Where's y'all's booth?" We're like, and one of his assistants that was there, I think it was either Hannah or Erica.
Yeah.
They go, "They are the booth." Obviously,
we are the booth.
So we are the
Be
booth.
the booth.
We do get those comments. I'm
Be
not
the
saying
booth.
that to brag. As far as when people do say, "Hey, you guys are so healthy," it's really all we're doing is literally living, eating literally and breathing what it is that we talk about. And so we have to be great representatives of this, of taking ownership of your health. So
start with yourself, right?
You
can't help anybody else unless you help yourself.
Yeah. So this ties in beautifully with what it is that we want to talk about as far as taking ownership of your health. And it fits in with, with this topic, the truth about weight loss and why taking ownership is so important. But why is it that, okay, so when you are taking ownership of your health when it comes to weight loss, then Dr. Randy, why is it not about then doing another diet or not about doing another exercise program? Because even as we go to all of these different events and they're pretty similar whenever you see the expo. The expo part is where they have all of the latest and greatest gadgets that are out there. And a lot of them are diet related and or movement or exercise type related. So why is it that weight loss is not about diet? Weight loss is not about all of those gadgets.
Yeah, and those are probably the two myths that we hear more often than not. We've all probably even said it because when you think about wanting to lose weight, you think about, well, I've got to diet and I've got to exercise. And let me be very clear. We want to be clear with this message is that diet and exercise have nothing to do with losing weight. So let that sink in. Diet and exercise have nothing to do with losing weight. And let me explain. If you have a weight issue, if you have a metabolic issue, you're not healthy. Healthy people don't have a weight issue. I'm not saying skinny people are healthy. I'm saying healthy people don't struggle with their weight. In fact, you want to get healthy to lose weight. You don't want to lose weight to get healthy. In fact, dieting and exercising, you have to become almost unhealthy to even lose the weight. So diet and exercise are not for weight loss. They're for your health. You and I both are very well versed in nutritional strategies and exercise, and we live this daily. We are the booth. But we don't eat right to lose weight. We eat right to nourish our body with bioavailable real food nutrition, because the greatest doctor in the world is on the inside of all of us, and that doctor needs real food. We don't exercise to lose weight. We keep our body in motion and exercise because that greatest doctor that's inside of you doesn't want to be sitting on a couch all day as the joints become immobile and you no longer get circulation and blood flow and increase oxygen capacity by moving your body. So diet and exercise are really the big myths about losing weight. All diets don't work. You're cutting calories and they're not even focused on what you're even really eating. It's just about lowering a number and then moving more. So you want to eat right and you want to exercise for your health. But if you're using it to lose weight, and a lot of you are and have tried it and even had success, but the second you're not perfect, you know it's all coming back. Diet and exercise are not for losing weight. Eat right and exercise for your health. That right there is a very foundational principle. If you can really let that sink in, that can really set you free and help you overcome the guilt of having to be perfect and thinking that it's all about the next diet or living on a treadmill.
Yeah, so in the context then of this episode of the podcast, and really truly taking agency or ownership of your own health, then you also have to, you're looking at it through a different lens.
Yeah.
So if you're not looking at diet or food to lose weight, then what that really does is means that you're like you said, you're looking at the nutrients that are coming into your body, but that's also taking ownership of the food that's coming into your body.
Yeah.
So that right there is all about food ownership, okay? And so if our food choices every day are either building health or it's building disease, then what should people be thinking about when it comes to taking ownership of what they're putting into their body as it relates to what we always talk about, metabolism?
Yeah, this is what I would say, and this is something you can focus on, and it gives you another tool to measure or to analyze what you're eating and does it make sense for your body. So we talk about eating bioavailable, nutrient-dense food with the least amount of toxins and anti-nutrients. So those are really 4 different boxes that you'd want to check off when you think about eating food, because quality of food does matter. Remember, you're not wanting to ever count calories. Calories just don't matter. You count nutrients. And when you eat bioavailable, nutrient-dense food with the least amount of anti-nutrients and toxins, your body will get satisfied. It will get full. You're not going to, quote, overeat, and you're going to give your body what it needs. So think about it. When you make a food choice, is that bioavailable, right? Is that something real? We have the acronym SURF, Dr. Rob. What does that stand for?
Simply eat real food. I'll ask you, okay, and I'll
What
just
is
say,
that?
I'll say it this way. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got an apple right here, okay? Or your favorite, it could be blueberries, apple, blueberries, whatever it is.
I do like apples.
And a Snicker bar. Which one of these two, and because they both have sugar.
They both have calories.
And they both have calories. Which one of these
Yeah.
is the real food, right? So you've got the Snicker bar that's been processed. It's been stripped down of any nutrients that are in there as far as the sugar goes, compared to the apple, which is exactly the way God made it. So now you've got the real food, you've got the fake food. Which one of these is going to have a better effect on your body? I think the obvious answer is going to be the apple. And we have this conversation with people. In fact, we had the conversation this last weekend. We always have conversations about food when people are like, yeah, I get it. I remember who it is that we're talking about that was like all about, yeah, I really like baked goods or baked sweets and all of these different things. Well, what you're really saying is that because of the processing in there, you have an addiction to the taste of the processed foods. You have an addiction to the lack of the nutrients that you're getting, and your body now produces this craving because of what it is that it's doing and how it's disrupting the hormones inside your body to want more of that processed food. So then to your point is why you're going to start now craving so much more of these ultra processed foods. Your body has no idea what to do with it. So now your body is taking that sugar, it's storing it as body fat, versus the apple, that poor apple right over here, right? Little guy. You know what? Exactly the way God created it to be, where those nutrients are bioavailable for the body. Your body knows what to do with it because it's in the form that God gave it to you. And your body's not going to actually store it as body fat. And that's based on the science that's out there about that apple.
Yeah, it's got the person who says, I'm really addicted to coffee, and then you ask them, what type of coffee do you like? Well, I like it with soy milk, sucralose, 8 pumps of syrup. I'm like, no, you're not addicted to coffee. You're addicted to processed sugar. So keeping it real. But yeah, you're to the point of eating real bioavailable food. These are foods, and really brings us to one of our other acronyms that you can use as a check to check this box to see if you should be eating it, is our acronym SCI-FI. I don't know, I've been on this acronym kick lately, but SCI-FI, not SCI dash.
It's funny because then I always have to stop you and I'm like, can you remind me what that one means again? Because I want to make sure that I got the definitions about all these things correct.
Like wham.
Yeah, like wham.
Walk after meals. And then one of our amazing clients, Margie's like, what about damn? I'm like, what's that, Margie?
Dancing after meals. I like damn better.
Yeah, damn. Yeah. I like to damn after meals.
Yes,
so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But DAM, not DAMN, Mom, if you're listening. So, but yeah, so back to the point, SCI-FI. So how do you know if something's really bioavailable? Well, SCI-FI stands for SIFI, single ingredient food item. So if you look at something and it should have only one ingredient. So if you look at an egg, what's the ingredients in an egg?
Egg.
Beautiful. One ingredient. What is the ingredients in a grass-fed regenerative steak?
Meat.
Right. What is the ingredient, like you said, in an apple?
Apple.
Now, what are the ingredients in a Snickers bar?
Well, I take that back on the apple.
Yeah.
Okay. Depending on where the apple came from, the ingredients could also include things like glyphosate.
Yeah, so organic always.
Yeah.
But the point is, you're eating single ingredient food items, or at least ingredients where there's only 1, 2, maybe 3. This is going to be food that's more bioavailable. Now, we talk about animal-based nutrition because the studies prove this. We've proven it with our own health and how we live. But when you're eating animal-based, you're getting the most amount of nutrients into your body. So when we say animal-based, we're talking about ruminant animals. If you're going to eat protein, really focus on beef and lamb and bison and elk and deer. These have multi-chambered stomachs. They are the most nutrient dense. If they're grass-fed, if they're regenerative, you're going to get more nutrients into that food. And the beauty of eating ruminant meat, animal meat, is that you absorb most of this nutrition. You want to get most of your nutrients into your body that is absorbed in your gut, in your small intestine. You don't want a bunch of undigested food getting to your colon. That is an issue. So when we talk about bioavailable, nutrient-dense nutrition, these are single ingredient food items. They meet the SURF requirement. They have the most nutrients that your body can actually utilize and get into your bloodstream for nutrition way before it would get to your colon undigested, which is why we really steer a lot of people away from grains and legumes and roots and tons of raw vegetables, because the plant kingdom has a lot of anti-nutrients and potential, plant toxins, or even, like you said, sprayed with insecticides and pesticides, which can block nutrients, can chelate certain minerals, and end up in your colon undigested, causing lots of inflammation. So bioavailable, nutrient-dense, real food nutrition with the least amount of toxins and the least amount of anti-nutrients, this is really the goal. So that's why, when we make a choice, in fact, we were at a restaurant the other day. If you want to talk about that, any restaurant you go to, doesn't matter if you're at the Ritz-Carlton or at a fancy steakhouse, don't be scared to have this conversation.
Yeah, this was a place that was a Spanish tapas restaurant. And if you've ever been to Spain, they don't have any toxic ingredients in the food, which really sucks that you have to ask about it here in the United States, even at a quote, and I'm not going to give the name of the restaurant. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know.
It's a great restaurant. You just got to navigate it.
They've got some good choices, but it goes back to then really taking ownership. And so, you see the foods that you want to order on the menu. And then you've got to ask the server, who was super nice and a lovely person, but you're like, okay, hey, her name is Courtney.
Yeah.
So Courtney,
Yep.
what on this menu doesn't have seed oils? And she looked at us kind of like we had three heads. And
Well, she asked about what
yeah,
is seed oil?
what
Yeah.
is that? So we let her know that. Obviously, if you're a listener, you have heard us talk about what that is. Go back and listen to old episodes. And so we said, okay, so can we have this, and this, but no, cook it with no seed oil. So we were thinking we were giving the options that probably wouldn't have any seed oils, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we already knew pretty much what was going to happen and could have predicted it. And, a few minutes later, the manager comes out. The manager lets us know that it's like 90% of what it is that we had picked is made with seed oil and does have seed oil either in the marinade or in the cooking process, somewhere along along those lines in there. We were grateful that he came out there. He completely understood.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a jerk about it. But that's all about taking ownership of your health. And what it is that we find is that people are like, you know what? I don't want to do that when I go to the restaurant. I don't want to ask because I don't want to inconvenience somebody. But you know what's an inconvenience is when somebody's actually taking care of you, because now you're sitting in a hospital bed because you either A, had a heart attack, right? Or maybe you've got some kind of cognitive decline or dementia or any of those type of things. And now somebody's having to take care of you and having to feed you. That right there is that's the inconvenience right there.
Man, that's the
okay?
real talk right there, dude. That is, yeah.
So why not take ownership
right.
of your health on the front end so you're not having to have somebody else take ownership of your health on the back end? So
It's the whole thing, like you think you're saving money by cutting corners with your health, and you really don't, because you either invest money into your health and make your health a priority, or literally you better hope you saved up a lot of money on the back end to treat all your diseases because you didn't take ownership, or you really kept believing the lies about our health, that there really isn't anything that you can do. It just runs in your family, or you're getting older, or you just got unlucky. All those things just aren't true. What you said is so powerful, really taking ownership and responsibility for your own health. If you don't, then you'll take no agency in the healing process, and you are not a victim. You are a victor. You have already been healed. This is why I love the message around health. And sad enough, even though we were in this amazing room, a lot of this message can get lost, Dr. Rob, where you're doing a lot of things that can be healthy and even natural things to treat, but you really don't even know that the greatest doctor really is already inside of you, and that the body doesn't need help healing. It needs no interference. But you're not a victim here, guys. You are a victor if you choose to be, but this is the foundation. We're not eating real food to treat disease. We're giving our body what it wants and what it needs because it knows what to do with that. If you put a bunch of fake food in your body for 30 years, you're not getting away with that.
no, you're not. So, and I'll, to that, I'll add a quote that I'm going to steal from Dr. Phil. I'm going to make it mine after I say it 3 times. But
Did you run this by Dr. Phil? Does he know? Did he?
I think he's going to be okay with it. But
Okay.
one of the things that he said that was really powerful was, you deserve a better existence.
I love that.
You deserve a better existence.
What do you think you deserve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that better existence starts with you taking ownership. So let's talk about the next ownership that you need to take if you are that person struggling with weight loss. And is movement ownership. What's the real story when it comes to movement or exercise and fat burning? And why is it that the old exercise more model is actually keeping people stuck? What would you say about that?
Well, there's a lot of problems with that. Listen, like we talked about earlier with the food, we're not saying don't exercise. It's just not for weight loss. You're just using it inappropriately, and it's a weird relationship that you have that's built off shame and regret and laziness that you tell yourself. But the point is, exercise can be great, but if we're going to be honest about it, it's what, 3,500 calories that you would have to burn through exercise in order to lose just 1 pound of body fat. Well, if you think about that, that's a 34-mile walk just to lose 1 pound. So can you imagine, you've got all this weight to lose and you're exercising all the time trying to lose weight. But remember, when you exercise, you are burning calories. And so your metabolism has to adapt to that. So if you're always working out and you're just, and there can be a healthy amount, but if you're working out all the time to lose weight, you're probably doing too much. You're probably pushing your body past what it's capable of. Your metabolism will adapt to that and will actually get slower. So isn't it crazy how the eat less, move more strategy has us now more obese, more overweight, more chronically ill, and more medicated than ever before? Yet I don't know that treadmill purchases are going down and gym memberships aren't being purchased. You've got to start thinking about it from a different perspective. So we want you to eat right. We want you to exercise. But if you're listening, if you've been that person who has been, and I think you really were that person, Dr. Rob, where you really were addicted to exercise, yet you couldn't really crack the code because it didn't matter how much you exercised, you really had a metabolic issue. And you can't out exercise a metabolic problem. You make it worse.
And that's why I called it movement, because I don't look at exercise, seems like that bad word, because it's that exactly. So I love movement for my health. One of our, great friends that lives here in the area, his name is Brian. He's probably one of the fittest people that you'll ever see. And all he does is just functional movement.
Yeah.
He's not lifting a bunch of heavy weights. He's doing functional movement. But I also look at, movement being great just to be able to help energy flow throughout your body. It's why we went, in fact, last Wednesday evening, we went to go see a group that we now love called Rufus du Sol. There may be people here who have no idea who they are, but just getting out, moving and dancing.
That was some damn.
That was dancing after meals for sure, but that's a great way to be able to allow energy to flow through. So it's more like a spiritual thing, and dance has always been used for things like that. So that's one of my preferred ways to get my movement in, doing some good old-fashioned salsa dancing just to keep things moving through the body. So it's keeping things moving.
Yeah, do things that are fun too. Like if you hate doing something, you're not going to commit to it. I do love to dance. I love just to get outside and walk. That's a great time to clear my mind. Some of my most powerful revelations and thoughts that I struggle maybe piecing together come together for me when I'm out in nature, when I'm walking, sun on my body, sun on my face, and just listening. And just, I really love that. So it is a spiritual practice for me. And it's one of the ways I honor God with my body is by moving my body and feeding it real food nutrition. So I love that you said that. So if you're struggling with exercise, it's probably because you're trying to do something that you hate, and you don't have to live in a gym in order to be healthy. In fact, if you look at the bodybuilding world, a lot of those people that have all these massive big muscles, they don't really live that long. I don't know that you're supposed to be 50 pounds heavier than you normally would be by eating all day long and doing steroids.
Yeah, we're giving you permission to get off that frickin' treadmill that you're on every single day that you absolutely hate. Okay.
The proverbial treadmill too.
Especially if you're doing that to lose weight. All right. So last but not least, what's the last thing that we need to make sure that we're taking ownership of? And that's going to be your mind. Okay. It seems pretty obvious, but you got to take ownership of your mind. And so, how is it, and we were just talking about this about coming, before doing the podcast, but how is it, how important is it that people take ownership over their inner dialogue, the story that they're telling themselves about their body and what's possible for them?
Yeah, I was at our favorite coffee shop the other day. In fact, I've got the coffee mug here. Buongiorno.
Did you steal that from them?
Man, I don't know if I did or not. If I did, I didn't do it on purpose, but this is 100% a Buongiorno coffee mug.
Where did that come from?
It was in the kitchen here at the headquarters. So anyway,
cheers. I have other questions.
Buongiorno, good morning. And it's also our favorite coffee place. But I was there doing some work the other day, sitting outside. They got a nice little outdoor area. And I overheard a conversation between two guys, and one of the guys was overweight. And I heard him, he said this exact thing. He was talking to his friend and he said, "This is how it's always going to be, and nothing's ever going to change." That's what he said. He said, "This is how it's always going to be, and things are never going to change." And my heart just broke, because I'm thinking about him even verbalizing that and saying that.
Words are spells.
They are spells, and they really become, your thoughts are more powerful than reality. He had really just taken ownership of, I'm a victim. And we've done this now for a very long time in the health and wellness space, over 25 years, worked with thousands of patients. I've never once ever, and correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen it, I've never ever seen a victim get well.
Mm-mm.
It isn't possible to heal and to overcome anything if you are a victim, not spiritually, not physically, not emotionally. So right out of the gate, he's believed something that's not true. So I would ask everybody listening, what is it that you're telling yourself? What spells are you casting? What are other people telling you? And then what are you telling other people?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to weight loss, some of those things maybe, well, you know what? It's just that time in my life. I'm too old to be able to lose the weight. It's gotten harder as I've gotten older. Or maybe you've said, hey, it's my genetics. This is something that runs in my family. And that can be about all kinds of health things. Or you may even say something that we just heard this last weekend. And that's, anytime people see us, they're like, you know what, I would absolutely love to do your metabolism program.
Yeah.
And what this person said, but I'm just not disciplined enough to do that. And I'm like, well, you can give, the answer that you gave back, which I thought was brilliant. In my mind, I'm like, I don't know that you actually even understand what the definition is for the word discipline. The word discipline comes from the word disciple. All that literally means is being a disciple of somebody who is mentoring you, allowing mentorship in your life is what being a disciple and what discipline is. Discipline is just putting that mentorship or that coaching to work and actually doing those things. And so doing those things is all you got to do. Can you actually look at a manual? Heck, all you got to do is just follow the steps that are right there on those pages. That's all you have to do. That doesn't require hard work. It's simple. It may not be easy because you're doing something different, but I don't know that it requires, quote, the discipline that she was referring to.
Yeah, and that was just coming from the lie that she's told herself. She's casting that spell over her life. It's coming from a place of fear. And we already know that God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind, discipline. But what I told her when she said that, we were at the dinner table, I said, maybe it's time that you start telling yourself a brand new story. Maybe some of you need to start telling yourself a new story, because the story you're telling yourself, is that really serving you? And what is it that you think you deserve? Our vision and our purpose, Dr. Rob, is we believe everybody deserves to be happy, and we believe all those happy people deserve to be healthy. What is it that you believe you deserve? Take ownership of your thoughts, and I can tell you that is the foundation for it all. Know who God made you to be. Know you're healed. Know the greatest doctor in the world is already inside of you, going to work for you. You don't need more healing. The journey is, how do I now take responsibility and agency in this journey so I can stop doing the things that are making me sick? And if you're not willing to stop doing the things that are making you sick, you will go right back into that victim mindset. And nothing the medical community has created will be able to get you out of that crisis. It starts with you. And that is our vision and prayer, is that we can get this happy, healthy message to more people. You're not broken. You are healed. Health is the normal. Disease is the abnormal. God created you. Have an amazing life. I love those thoughts. If you're going to cast a spell over your own life and tell yourself anything, how much more powerful would it be on a daily basis if you said those things?
Yeah. So what can you do if you feel like you just don't have that ownership of your food, your mind, your movement? What do I do if I've been stuck? We're going to make it really simple for you. We're going to show you step by step exactly what to do in our next upcoming challenge. Here's what you do. Go to h2thinchallenge.com, sign up for that. It starts on May the 14th, which is just in time for summer. If you really want to start taking agency and ownership of your health, get into the next weight loss challenge. We're going to show you how to lose the weight fast, how to be able to keep it off, have that true agency for your health. If you're curious and you want to know how your metabolism is actually doing, you can go to metabolismscore.com. also in the show notes. If you're curious about some of these conferences and things that we go to, I'll put the link for the conference that we just went to into the show notes as well. Thank you so much as well to the people who organized that conference. Roxy, your dad, the Changing Life Destiny, you guys are doing things to make an impact in the world. And for all the folks who we met there, who now are listeners of the podcast, you know what? We're so excited to be able to deepen the relationship that we have so that we can be able to collaborate together to really, truly make this a happier, healthier world. All of you were absolutely lovely. I didn't meet one person that I was like, you know what? I don't like that person. So they were all amazing.
I think when you really become the person that you want everybody else to be, you really start attracting more amazing people. So be the person that you want other people to be, because before you change others, change yourself. I can tell you that'll go a long, long way. So no, we met great people, and I want to feel like I'm attracting more great people because of how I show up every single day in a non-judgmental but loving way, but also having integrity with the things that we teach and how we live our life that is attractive to the world. In the world, you can tell people a lot of things, but how do you make people feel when they're around you? And people really don't really care what you say. They really want to watch what you do. And I think that is huge. And if you're a part of this community, you already know people watch what you do. They watch what you eat. They watch what you say. And it goes a long way to show up and live and breathe these principles of above, down, inside, and out, and know that you are the one, guys. You are the one that can change the generational patterns in your family. I'm the one for my family. Dr. Rob, you're the one for your family. If you're listening to us, you probably are the one. Embrace it. God gave it to you. You are the one. Change the change agent. Be the coffee bean, right? If you don't know the coffee bean story, look up Damon West. Be the change agent. You are the coffee bean.
Awesome. You guys have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. I'm going to tease you with this. We're going to talk about a story on the next podcast about where somebody saw and what they said about our SCT oil and who that person was. And there's somebody that is a very popular and well-known person, which was really cool to be able to go, oh my gosh, you actually saw our SCT oil on the shelf of a grocery store. So I'm going to tease you with that. We'll talk about that on the next episode.
I love it.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.